Well, good afternoon and welcome to H360 Live. My name is Dave Duplay. Sitting here beside me is Courtland Long. We've got a great show for you today because we had three amazing people come in and talk about mental illness, really around schizophrenia. And this is going to be a really great show that you're really going to enjoy.
I'm super excited for this episode. I think it's not only going to help remove the stigma around this condition that affects about 1.2% of the American population, but I think it's also really going to help put a face to a condition that's really important out there.
Absolutely. So sit back, enjoy the show, and we'll catch up with you in just a little bit.
My name is Heather. My close friend was diagnosed with schizophrenia about 10 years ago. I mean, it was a little bit scary before he was diagnosed, and dealing with his symptoms was also really scary. Well, I thought it made sense, and I was glad that he got a diagnosis because that's the first step to getting the help that he needed. But also I was worried that he might not be able to function normally or have normal relationships. So I just wanted to be there for him as much as possible because he was always such a good friend to me. But then after he was diagnosed, I felt afraid for him that he would end up alone and with nobody to take care of him or, you know, just be there for him as a friend. So I felt very strongly that I should stick by his side, you know, through thick and thin. He basically wants to kind of be left to kind of handle his own lifestyle, and whenever I try to kind of help, he resists a lot. So I do what I can just to be there for him. The biggest thing would be to not invest too much of yourself. Try to, you know, always be able to step back from that person's situation and always just have something for yourself going on. The people that have schizophrenia just kind of see things differently. They're not like dangerous usually. I would say to just try to have an open mind with that person because they might say some strange things, but it actually makes sense. Like if you think about it in the way that they see it, you can kind of make sense of what they're saying. Sometimes we kind of try to just go along and be nice about it, and then sometimes we say, oh, now you're really like making a lot up, you know? He takes risperidone and trazodone. Like around his bedtime, he's supposed to take them, so the medications help. Sometimes it can be a struggle because they make him feel tired, and sometimes he feels like he can't do much because of that. And so sometimes he decides he wants to go off of his medication, and he doesn't always understand that that's kind of like something he has to do for the rest of his life. I think like most people kind of like lump a lot of psychological disorders together, but there's like a real difference between like things like bipolar and schizophrenia and multiple personality disorder. They're just like all different. People think that he acts strangely and that he makes things up, and you know, some of the things he say can be like really strange, and it can be hard to kind of keep a conversation with that going on. I mean, I feel that sugar really makes his behavior a little worse. Like when he eats like a lot of sugar, which he does sometimes, he will decide that he wants to go out in the middle of the night, like at 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning, and like go and buy like sugary things like cakes and stuff like that. And I kind of feel like it would be more conducive to a functional lifestyle if he would be asleep at that time instead of like going out on treks looking for donuts and cakes. But he can be like pretty sedentary, but I try to encourage him to go out and do errands and stuff like that, and that's helped a lot with his weight. Sometimes he's great. I mean, he can be pretty functional, but then other times he doesn't get out of bed ever, and he like gets really angry if I try to suggest that he might feel better if he gets out of bed. I don't know, there's not much I can do. I just kind of like let him be at that point. I don't know, he kind of like tries to keep his worlds very separated. So he does go and stay with his dad like once or twice a week. So that's good. I'm not like his primary caregiver at that point. We kind of had the same circle of friends in high school. So we kind of like best friends. I mean, we knew that he was schizophrenic because his mother was schizophrenic. So, I mean, I guess we kind of saw it coming for a while, but then when he started becoming like really angry, and I think he attacked a few of my friends also. Like he kind of became Saul the vampire and said he needed to feed, and he like jumped on them or pushed them or something. I can't really remember the story, but at that point, you know, we contacted his parents, who were not very involved. They divorced even before I met him, when he was around 8. They seem like they just want to have their own lives, and they've never like really paid much attention to him. And we were like, he needs some professional help, and so they sent him to the hospital, and he stayed for a few months. He's also now getting inheritance from his mom, but his mother's family had money, so he was sort of getting like a monthly allowance from both sides. He's very lucky in that sense. Well, the first thing he should definitely do is go on disability, but he won't. He just like adamantly refuses to go on disability. He says that they're not gonna give it to him, so he just like won't try. That's one big obstacle. I feel like he really should be doing something to ensure that he has some kind of stability in the future, and he feels that he doesn't need to. And so that's one big thing that we argue about. I mean, he knows that he has this condition, but he doesn't understand that he will need to provide for himself at some point.
Hi, my name is Tanya, and I'm a caregiver for my aunt who has schizophrenia. Before, she was working as a home attendant, but now she's not able, so she's unemployed at this particular moment. She's been diagnosed for about 4 to 5 years. When my aunt was first diagnosed, it was really scary. It's a twofold answer. First, I was relieved because it was like, okay, really, I know what's going on. It's schizophrenia. Then I was scared because it was like, oh, I saw in the movies and so forth like that, and how schizophrenia was portrayed, and that was not easy and settling for me either. We got up. It was the whole day really. She just had eaten breakfast, and she just started screaming. And she said, there are snakes on the floor, snakes, there's water. And we knew right then and there that something was wrong. As a result, we tried to calm her down. Now this is beginning to be towards lunchtime. And she says that she began to see babies as far as in the basket. That was very scary. So afterward, it was unbearable, and then we had to call 911. 911, the EMT, they were a little nervous because they didn't know what to do. So we had to explain to the EMT what the condition was, the schizophrenia. She was standing up, she was screaming, she was trying to get out of the house. These EMTs were very nice. They had a calming, soothing way about her, and so finally she listened. And as a result, they were a lot more calm and easy, and then she was admitted as far as to the hospital. When my aunt is on medication, you can really see a difference. She takes several medications, and you could see the difference when she's on it. She's more talkative, she's more herself, and when she skips a dose, it's like she's in this catatonic type of mode where she could be talking to you any moment and then she'll blank out and stare. Well, unfortunately, when people have schizophrenia, it carries a stigma. For instance, many people do not want to deal with them because of fear of the unknown. They feel that the person is going to go off, or they feel frightened because they don't know about the disease themselves. When people have schizophrenia, they see schizophrenia. But I want people to know that with schizophrenia and any other disease, they're real people. They have feelings. It's just us. We have to get to know the heart of the person and not the label. I was a little fearful. I was scared because I thought she was going to change from being the bubbly, outspoken person that she is. But after I did my own research, I just had to realize that I had to change how I was dealing with the new person now with schizophrenia. Before, she was like the center of attention. A crowd will be like being in front of a stage for her. She loved performing, loved grabbing the attention of everything as far as an audience. But now she's more withdrawn, she's more cautious, and it's like she is not trusting of a lot of people. When we first went to the doctor, they did not diagnose her because, of course, they didn't know what it was. Because I was telling him that she was forgetting a lot of things, being withdrawn. It says, oh, it's just due to old age. I was telling her that she was getting she was getting dizzy. Oh, don't worry, we'll just do several tests and we'll get back with you. They were doing like the computer test to see, okay, well, what day it is, how old are you, what is your birth date, and so forth like that. So we had to Google it, get the symptoms, and figure it out, for ourselves. And then what we did was we communicated these symptoms to the doctor. So as a result of our research and giving it to the doctor, he was able to make his own diagnosis. And through time and trials, we were able to discover the word schizophrenia. It was over a period of time. It wasn't like one day, yes, I see it. It was gradually. And then we had to help her by Googling it, Bing, Yahoo, and so forth like that, and getting newsletters. I was ashamed, literally, because, going to the movies, you hear schizophrenia, and you're like, oh, God, she's crazy. Let's cross the street, And then as I gradually got comfortable with it myself, then I began to share it with others. Nosy neighbors, they've noticed something for many, many months. Fearfulness, dizziness, forgetful, in conversations, stopping in midair, those sort of things. And they knew her, and she was not that type of person at all. I was just talking, getting on an elevator, and you say, oh, it's a little different with, such and such. So I began to say, yes, she's experiencing some different sicknesses and so forth like that. Because I, too, didn't want to admit it for myself. And then the neighbor kept pressuring me. So I finally told her, yes, it is schizophrenia. And she said, okay, finally. we can connect something now, because before we didn't know what was going on. First, she gets up, bathe, take care of the necessities, and then after that, she has to be reminded, or sometimes she will remember as far as to take her meds. And then after that, one of us or a caregiver will go over there to see how she's doing, and I will call her to say, okay, did you take your meds today? And she will continue doing whatever routine that she does throughout the day. And it's rather a slow pace for her because she was used to going, and now it's like monotone. She has ups and downs. The downs are when she mistakes the medication, or sometimes she will forget and like overdose, and then the hallucinations will come, or when she doesn't eat, because it's important when you're taking various medications to eat and take the medication, and she'll become dizzy, disoriented. So it's not easy, up and down. It's not easy.
My name is Rondell, and I was diagnosed with schizophrenia in 2010. Right now I'm employed at the post office up in the Bronx, where I've been for the last 7 years. Back when I was diagnosed, I was actually in a micro program at the time. So when they actually told me what had actually been going on, it was more so of like, it was a relief, you know. Kind of understood why everything was happening and stuff like that, and how like the alcohol was making it worse. I think the depression was what kind of got me wondering a lot, because I've always had issues with the depression since I was in my early 20s or something like that. But then as time went on and stuff like that, I know I had got involved with the alcohol and the smoking and the marijuana and stuff. But it seems like when I was doing that, it made things worse. Like I was always like paranoid a lot of the times. There was a period in my life where as though that I could be sitting there by myself, and it's like, you know, you actually feel like there's somebody there with you and just holding a totally different conversation with this person, and you're basically the only one that's there, you know. Having my friends just said, you know, just tell me that I've been acting like basically crazy, probably, you know. I also was going through moments where as though I didn't want to be bothered with anybody. I mean, we're talking about like weeks at a time where I'm not calling home, not coming home. My roommates don't know where I'm at. Just questioning myself about a lot of things that I was doing. But it was actually the depression that actually drove my family to seek help with me. But this had been something that was going on, not just for a little while. This had been going on for years. And me living away from home, you know, didn't nobody really have any kind of day-to-day contact with me but my roommate and the friends we hung around. And most of us, you know, drank and smoked weed and stuff like that. So we was all like, all messed up at the time. Yeah, it was also my mother. It was more so like some of the things she was saying, I know she wouldn't lie on me or anything like that. It's just that a lot of the stuff I couldn't really see myself doing, you know. I can remember when I used to feel like I was more than one person acting. When I say that, I mean, you know, I could be in the living room watching TV and have a complete conversation by myself, but to me, I'm like surrounded by a few people. You know, I'm actually talking to you. You know, I think my friends noticed that too at the time. So her and my dad took me to the doctor. They had me do some cognitive tests or whatever like that, some little hand stuff, test or whatever. Asking about my drug and alcohol use and certain things I had experienced, and it was like he was asking me these questions and stuff on the paper, and I could actually see myself doing that. You know, not saying I remember it, but I could see myself doing that. He was a bit concerned about the drinking, because it seemed like when I did that, I would be really off for days. And I do believe when I was doing the drinking and the smoking, I think that's when I would just isolate myself. And when I say isolate, don't mean like be in the house isolating. I mean, I would just leave and be gone for like 2 or 3 weeks at a time. Wouldn't call anybody. And in my eyes, it was fine. He had spoken with my friends and family and stuff like that, and automatically I knew it had to be my roommates. I was angry for a little bit. I was angry because I thought, they was either like turning on me or whatever. They was some sort of enemies or whatever. And, he was just telling me about the schizophrenia and the depression, with my family having a history of some mental health, mostly on my dad's side though. Well, yeah, all of it on my dad's side. And started talking to me about the condition and stuff like that, and trying to start treatment. I was a little bit reluctant at first because I thought it was like something that he could probably like give me or whatever, and after a little while, take the medication, after a little while it'd be fine. But I really got a little bit reluctant about even getting treatment at that time because he was telling me that I had to go to the psychotherapy for a while. And he said in some cases it might be something you might have to do for the rest of your life. And I wasn't willing to do that at that time. But when somebody says something like schizophrenia and bipolar and paranoid schizophrenic and all other kind of stuff, you start thinking about like, maybe hard drugs they're gonna treat you with. You start thinking about them actually trying to lock you up someplace for good. You start thinking about, well, for me, I started thinking about like not being able to be around my own things and people that I knew of. It just was, it was scary. And I think that's why the first few months after seeing a doctor, I didn't seek any treatment. I just figured, now that I know what it is, I could probably handle it from this on out without going to see a therapist once a week. Well, he wanted to see me at the first few months, maybe like twice a week. I guess to maintain the medication or whatever, And I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think I had to do all that. I actually got to the point where as though I was being really careless with myself, meaning that I didn't, I would go to work and clock in, stay for maybe like an hour, and clock back out, and then go home. Lay in bed for almost 2 or 3 days at a time. Nothing was right. Nothing was going right at the time. And if you looked at it through a person's eyes who didn't know me, everything, I should have been happy during this time. And a lot of things that I was doing and stuff like that was stuff that I probably always wanted to do previously in the past. But I don't know, it was like I started the smoking of marijuana every day. Started seeing a lot of things and people that wasn't there. During this time, I even thought I saw my grandmother. She was actually dead before I was even born. It was a lot of stuff. My roommates really got concerned. They called my family and tried to get me to get help. And I don't know, it got to the point where though I really didn't have a choice. I was angry because I really didn't want to be labeled as this or that. And I was getting kind of concerned about being put away. And well, that happened anyway, because the doctor did admit me into the hospital that time, and I think I stayed there for like a month.
Well, Courtland, that was such a great show, and I want to give a shout out to the 3 folks that came in and spent time with us here in our office and really educated us on schizophrenia. It was really great.
It was wonderful to be able to spend some time with Heather, Tanya, and Rondell.
Absolutely. So once again, guys, thanks for coming in. I'd like to thank you for tuning in, and I'd like to thank our sponsors for making this all possible. Remember, all of our episodes can be viewed on demand at healthyho360.com, and our podcast can be found in the iTunes store.
Well, we love social media, and we're all over Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest using the hashtag #RealStories when posting, and we'd greatly appreciate it if you would do the same. On behalf of Dave Duplay, myself, and the entire Healthy O360 family, we'd like to thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
I never had so much love on my